What's up, evolutionaries? It's your boy Callie, and I'm back again with another video. If this is your first time tuning into my YouTube channel, welcome to the evolution. And if this is your second, third, fourth, or fifth time, thank you for always being here. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for always showing your support for the movement. In today's video, we will be discussing a very sensitive topic, and by far the most sensitive topic that I've chosen to talk about on my channel, and that is suicide. Suicide affects every single person on this earth. It does not matter if you are a little boy, a little girl, or an old woman or an old man, you are prone to suicide. Suicide is an impulsive reaction, or it can be a long-term thinking process. So what I'm basically saying is you can get up one day and decide to commit suicide, or it could be a longing thinking in your mind that, hey, this is a feeling that's been on me for so long, and then you officially decide to do it. So it doesn't matter who you are, what you go through, you are prone to suicide. I have to set the record straight before I get into my video. I will be mentioning some very sensitive topics about suicide, mainly discussing the ways people can take their own lives. And I must say, for anybody who might see this video, I am in no way, shape, or form condoning suicide or promoting suicide, but I am just making it clear how people can take their own lives so that others can look out for these things and can put themselves on the guard so that they can help people whenever they see some of these things happening. So let's get into the video. Some key facts to note about suicide. Number one, more than 700,000 people die globally as a result of suicide. Number two, suicide is the fourth leading cause of death in 15 to 19-year-olds. And number three, some of the common ways that people take their own lives would be ingesting pesticide, hanging themselves, or using a firearm. So those are the top three key facts to note about suicide. What is suicide? Many people or many dictionaries have their own meanings as it relates to what suicide is. But for me, suicide is basically death caused by injuring oneself with the intent to die. So yeah, it's simple as that. Any means you take to harm yourself and then you eventually die, that is suicide. Who is at risk of committing suicide? Everyone. But there are some specific people or groups of people who are at a higher risk of committing suicide. And those are, number one, persons who experience discrimination, whether they are prisoners, refugees, or LGBTQ plus people. Number two, persons who experience financial problems or experience major breakups. And number three, persons who suffer from mental illnesses or chronic illnesses. Persons who, number one, go through a lot of torment every day, persons calling them names, putting them down, so that would fall under the discrimination category. Persons who are either going bankrupt, have too many debts, or they experience a really, really bad breakup, or persons who simply have mental illnesses, whether it's depression, major depression, or major anxiety, or chronic illnesses, cancer, or any terminal illness that may cause you to die soon. Persons just decide that, hey, it doesn't make sense I go through all of this. Let's just take it up onto myself and just, end it all because I'm going through too much and I can't take any more. Methods of suicide. Among all ages, hanging is the most common suicide method, followed by jumping, intoxication, the use of a firearm, and cutting. Suicide methods can be broken down by groups. For ages 15 to 24, we see where the method used to commit suicide is mainly cutting yourself or burning yourself. for ages 25 to 44, we see the use of a firearm being used, and also the over intoxicated. And for the ages 45 to 64, we see hanging being the most commonly used method of suicide. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, that the reason why I would be mentioning methods of suicide is because they are used to devise prevention strategies. So knowledge of the methods of suicide are used globally and internationally by the World Health Organization and other organizations that are put in place to help to control suicide. They use the methods of suicide to devise prevention strategies, and it is shown to be effective, such as the restriction of certain suicide methods. They restrict them to certain people. So whether it's restricting sharp objects to a specific person, or anything that that person is known to use to cause harm to themselves, you would restrict them from having access to all of that. Prevention and control. Contrary to popular belief, guys, suicides are preventable. Please take a look at the following key effective evidence-based interventions. Number 1. Limit access to the means of suicide. For example, pesticides, certain medications, or firearms. Number 2, interact with the media for the responsible reporting of suicide. Number 3, foster socio-emotional skills in adolescents. And number 4, early identify, assess, manage, and follow up anyone who displays suicide behaviors. Suicide prevention efforts require collaboration and coordination among major sectors of society, ranging from the health sector to the labor sector to security to even education, etc. This requires an integrated approach, as no single commodity can tackle an issue as very, very, very dire as suicide. Nobody can do it alone. We all need to come together and make an integrated approach so that we can all fix this with our bright ideas. And, we need to fix it. Here are 6 warning signs to look out for in the event that someone is about to commit suicide. Number 1, increased alcohol intake and drug use. Number 2, impulsive or reckless behavior. Number 3, dramatic mood swings. Number 4, threats or comments about killing one's self. Number 5, aggressive behavior. And number 6, talking or writing about death. So guys, you can't see what a person is going through inside. So those 6 warning signs that I just gave you are things to look out for on an outward basis when looking for somebody who is about to commit suicide. Because we go through a lot every day and most persons don't talk about it. Because they don't, you can't really know what's going on up here. But you can look out for those 6 and even more. But those are the top 6 signs that most persons look out for when dealing with persons who are about or have thoughts of committing suicide. And we have come to one of the most sensitive portions of today's topic, and that is how to talk to someone who is feeling suicidal. This is a very, very, very sensitive part because you want to know how to approach this person, and even when in the middle of the conversation, you want to know the do's and the don'ts, the what not to say and the what to say, because you might just say the wrong thing to drive that person further to committing suicide, or you might just say that one thing that saves them from doing what they want to do. You can begin the conversation by asking questions in a non-confrontational way. Be open and direct. Do not be afraid to ask, are you thinking of committing suicide? It may sound a bit harsh, but being more direct with the person allows them to be more direct with you, right? It sounds weird, but that's the approach. Be direct. Don't be afraid to ask them, Are you thinking of committing suicide? You may be surprised that that person is open and say yes, and or they might just say no. During the conversation, make sure you stay calm, speak in a reassuring tone, acknowledge that their feelings are legitimate, offer support and encouragement, tell them that help is available and that they have access to treatment. In cases of imminent danger, if you see anyone doing any of the following, they need care immediately. Number 1, putting their affairs in order or giving away possessions. Number 2, saying goodbye to friends and family. Number 3, having a mood shift from despair to calm. And number 4, planning, looking to steal, buy, or borrow the necessary tools needed to complete a suicide, such as a firearm or medication. Treatment for persons at risk of committing suicide. Each treatment will depend on the underlying cause of someone's suicidal thoughts. The following are a list of treatments for suicide. Number 1, cognitive behavioral therapy. This is a form of therapy that teaches an individual to deal or work with the emotions or events that contribute to their suicidal thoughts. It can also be used to replace a person's negative thoughts with positive ones in an event to overcome the suicidal thoughts, which would be pulled from the negative thoughts. And number 2, medication. Medication may be used to ease psychotic symptoms. Medication may also be used to eliminate the suicidal thoughts. Antipsychotic and anti-anxiety medication could be prescribed to treat suicidal thoughts. And finally, the most important portion of today's video, suicide prevention resources. If you or someone you know of is suicidal, the following resources can be utilized. Number 1, findahelpline.com. This is an online website that is used to communicate with an unknown person who you wish to confide in about any issues that you're going through, which may contribute to you wanting to commit suicide. Number 2, 7 cups of tea. This is another online website that is used to offer free text chat to therapists, trained therapists and counselors. Again, persons that you don't necessarily know, or not even don't necessarily know, you don't know them any at all, which is the point of it all, wanting to confide in someone that you don't know, who are able to provide you with the necessary information to help you get better. And number 3, Befrienders. This is another online platform that caters for anyone in distress to be heard. They are a global network of 349 emotional centers, support centers around the world. So again, these are the top 3 recommended online platforms that anyone can use in the event that you feel that you need someone to talk to about your suicidal thoughts, or just to confide in someone about what you're going through, and they will be able to provide the necessary trained help that you need to get better. Here is a short story about suicide, and this is entitled Dylan's Tragedy. Arriving back from a short trip, we were met by police at the airport. Our world was about to collapse. Your son Dylan has taken his own life. It's hard to remember exactly what happened next. We were driven home by 2 young police officers who handed us a number to call for information. They left quickly. I remember thinking how shocked and upset they looked. We were on our own. There is no manual to guide you through what to do next. There was no offer of support from police or health professionals. It was left to our devastated friends and family to try and support us emotionally and practically through the next few days and weeks. Mortuary visits, post-mortem, funeral preparations. We were all in shock, trying to make sense of what had happened. 3 weeks later, confused and grieving, my sister-in-law, Vanessa, took her own life. More than 2 years have passed now since we lost Dylan and Vanessa, and I still wake every day wondering how this could have been possible. Could things have been different? How can we prevent this happening to other families? Dylan was 18 when he took his life. Few people knew that he had been suffering from body dysmorphic disorder, social anxiety, and depression for several years. As a loving family, we kept our issues close, never feeling that we need reveal our private struggles beyond a close view. We tried to respect our son's wishes by not telling people he was struggling with mental health. Dylan's illness had crept up slowly through his teens. He'd never learned about mental health or ill health. He didn't have a vocabulary to describe how he was feeling. Astonishingly, despite 50% of mental health problems starting before the age of 14, mental health is not openly talked about in school and is not a standard part of the curriculum. If it was, then perhaps Dylan would have understood better what was happening. Suicide is the second biggest killer of 15 to 29-year-olds. We need to start talking and teaching about mental health and ill health at school as part of suicide prevention. Suicide is preventable. So basically, we see here the words of a grieving father talking about how he lost his son and his sister-in-law as a result of suicide, and we can see the main factor contributing to this is a lack of knowledge. And that is why, if you remember when I said the collaboration with the health sector and education is something that needs to be done, because if education is being divulged to the public and people are being aware of what suicide is, how it can be prevented, basically everything that I just said in this video, if people are made aware of all of these things, then we will be better equipped how to deal with it, the necessary persons to go to, the necessary resources we can use to seek help whenever we feel as if we want to commit suicide. And this is a prime example of not knowing anything, of being ignorant to suicide and eventually falling prey to its darts. And so guys, I want you to think about this story, apply it to your lives, find the help if you need it, and find help for persons if they need it as well. And that is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for always being here, providing your support to the evolution. I trust and hope that you guys are now equipped with the necessary information needed to tackle this pressing issue that we call suicide. Words cannot express how much I'm grateful to you guys for always being here, providing your time and effort to sit and listen, to be educated so you can educate others. Don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to comment. Let me know if you guys have encountered any issues of suicide and what did you do to provide help or assistance for this person. Don't forget to share with your friends, family members, strangers, and anyone that you come in contact with. Let them know that there is someone out there that is willing and able to provide them with the necessary issues that they probably don't want to talk about, you probably don't want to talk about, but he wants to talk about, to educate everyone in the world. And finally, one of the most important things, don't forget to subscribe to the evolution. Remember, one more subscriber equals one more supporter against all the human rights infringements. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once more, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Callie is signing out.